Right. Okay. So Windows authentication, usually as a DBS, we are going to use Windows authentication. Okay. That means what? Simply, in case you want to connect to any server, what you are going to do? Okay. You will simply, this is your laptop. Either in case if you are doing work from home, or like if you are doing work from office. Okay. So what you will do? You will open MSTSC. MSTSC means remote desktop. Okay. You can type remote desktop. You will get this window. Okay. Remote desktop window you will get. So what you will do usually? So just open MSTSC in your laptop. Then it will ask you the server, to which server you want to connect. You will provide a server name like this. Server name or IP address you can use to connect. Okay. You will simply provide a server name. Immediately once you just provided the server name or IP address, it will ask you to enter the username and password. Okay. So usually in the organization we'll choose more choices, use a different account, then we'll provide the username and password. This username and password will be provided by the organization. That is called an elevated account. Okay. So the one which you are using to log into your work laptop is a different login. The one which you are going to use to log into the Windows servers or Office servers is a different account. To create that account, usually it will take time. That's why once you go to the organization, immediately you may not work. Why? Because they may take 2 or 3 weeks to create account, special account for you. You are going to use that special account or elevated account to log into the Windows servers directly. Clear? Is it clear as of now?
Sir?
Yeah.
Clear, right? Right.
Yes, Manu.
Okay.
Sir?
So yes, just 1 minute. Just 1 minute. Let me add something to this. Okay. Once you give your username and password, okay, then you will directly log into this Windows machine. The username and password, for what you are giving the username and password? To log into this Windows machine, you are giving the username and password. Once you log into the Windows machine like this, then you are opening SSMS. Like once you just log into the Windows machine, there you are going to open SSMS. Then you will choose Windows authentication like this. Once you choose Windows authentication, it won't ask again username and password. Why? Because while logging into the Windows machine, you already gave the username and password here, right? While logging into the Windows machine itself, you already gave the username and password. If you give wrong username or wrong password, initially it won't allow us to log into the Windows machine itself. As you gave the correct username and password, and again, don't think those who can access this Windows machine can directly connect to the SQL server. No, Windows people also can connect to the Windows machine. But again, what is the condition here? A login should be created in the logins list for you. Okay, then only you can connect to the SQL server. So once you just connected to the Windows machine with Windows authentication, whenever you are trying to log into the SQL server using Windows authentication, again it don't ask the username and password. Why? Because you already gave the username and password while logging into the Windows machine. That's why it don't ask username and password. But SQL Server authentication is not going to work like that. How it is going to work? Using SQL Server authentication, usually in work laptops, we are going to install SSMS. We, our Windows team, will install SSMS, only SSMS. Client they will install. They cannot directly log into the Windows machine, guys. Users or developers cannot, may have direct access or may not have direct access to the Windows machine. Okay, so how they are going to connect? Usually SSMS client will be installed, only SSMS. Don't think SSMS means SQL Server. No, SSMS is different, SQL Server is different. SSMS is a tool to connect to the SQL Server, right? So SSMS will be installed in their machine. Simply they will open SSMS and they will give the server name and password, right? Simply this is, imagine this is my work laptop. Okay, I will open SSMS in the work laptop itself, and I'll give the server name and I'll give the password, username and password. If my login is created in the SQL server, then I can connect to the SQL server. So if you choose SQL authentication, you have to provide the username and password. If you choose Windows authentication, no need to provide it in the management studio. but while logging into the Windows machine, you have to provide the username and password. Is it clear? Now you understood the difference between Windows authentication and SQL Server authentication? Anyone having any doubts? Yes, please proceed. You are asking something. Yeah.
Yeah, then we will be giving that one username and password so that we
Yes.
can, when you do MSTSC, you will enter those credentials, and then
Yes.
after login into the, I mean, when you are logging into that SSMS, you have to
Mm.
you have to choose the Windows Server authentication. Then
Yes.
you that Windows and username and password will be blank out.
Yes, that's it.
You
If you
can direct
choose
connect.
Windows
You can connect
authentication,
directly.
yeah, if you choose Windows authentication, I can connect directly without giving the username and password. But again, don't think it won't take the username and password. It will take the username and password. But during the logging into the Windows machine itself, it will take the username and password. Okay, as you are successfully verified user by the Windows machine. So next time again, it won't ask the username and password. That's it. If you choose SQL Server authentication, now you have to provide the username and password again. Why? Because don't know from which machine you are trying to access to the server, right? It don't know from which machine you are trying to access. So simply now it is going to ask your username and password. Okay, so you can give your own username and password, but again, what is the condition for all these things, guys? Remember, the condition is a login should be created in the SQL server. Either it is a Windows login or a SQL login. Functionality wise, there is no difference between Windows login and SQL login. Only login process is different. The only difference between a Windows login and a SQL login is login process is different. That's it. Windows login will login in a different way. SQL login, we are going to login in a different way. That is the only difference. Whatever Windows login permissions is having, same permissions can be there with the SQL login also. Functionality wise, there is no difference between Windows login and SQL login. Same can behave, both can behave same. Okay, so only the difference is Windows login we are going to log into the SQL server in a different way, Windows authentication, whereas SQL server authentication we are going to log into the SQL server in a different way. That's it. That is the only difference, guys. Any question? Someone is trying to,
Shavuk,
yes.
then our login will be created by other team members when we join the company, or what?
Hmm.
Like
Yes, yes, that's what. They will create
okay.
a separate login. That's why they will take 2 or 3 weeks or 1 month to create a login for you. That's why once you go to the organization, they
Okay.
don't give you the username and password immediately. Okay, they will take some time. Might be they may take 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 1 month sometimes. Sometimes imagine 2 months also it will take to create login. It won't take much time. Again, it's a 5 minutes work only. But usually they won't give the permissions immediately. They will take 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 1 month or 2 months, depends upon their work pressure and all. They may take some time and they will create the username and password. A special username and password will be created. An elevated username and password will be created for you. You have to use that special credentials to log into the servers. Okay, any doubts? Any doubts, any issues, please? Someone is trying to ask some questions, right? Let me know.
Sir, in one
Any
virtual machine, how many Windows servers will be there?
nothing like that. One virtual machine means one Windows server only.
Okay, sir.
Okay, one virtual machine means only one Windows server. Imagine one virtual machine is one laptop. In one laptop, how many laptops will be there? One laptop only, right? So in case if you created virtually, a lot of laptops will be there, but that is not the thing. One virtual machine means only one server will be there. Only one Windows server will be there. Windows server is an operating system, guys. Okay, SQL server is an application. Lot of applications may be installed, okay, in the Windows machine, but operating system is always one. Okay, so in a one virtual machine, you will have only one Windows machine or one Windows server. Clear? Any doubts? Please, again, if you have any doubts, let me know immediately. Don't hesitate to ask the doubt. Security is very important, guys. If you don't understand how it will work, it will be very difficult to give the permissions. will regularly will get a requirements. Okay, give permission on this database, on this table. You have to first understand the basic things. Okay, how SQL login will work, how Windows login will work. Okay, what is meant by remote desktop, what is meant by remote login. Okay, so you have to understand these things properly, how the SQL server is going to log in, what is the logic behind the logins and all. So is it clear, everyone? Again, don't hesitate, please ask me, no problem. There is no small doubt or big doubt and all. I know half of the students are from non-computer background. You can ask any doubt, guys, don't hesitate.
Shanmugh,
Yeah, tell me.
login was created. After this, if something went wrong with password, like forgotten password or something, who will deal with this?
Yeah, in this case, usually if you forget about the elevated account passwords and all, see here, while logging to the Windows server, will provide a separate account credentials, right? So in case if you forgot the password, or if you are giving wrong password, or if the password is expired, you have to contact the Windows team. They are going to reset your password. Okay, if it is a Windows login. If it is a SQL login, users will contact us. We have to reset the password for them. Our passwords will be controlled by the Windows team, and SQL logins passwords will be controlled by the DBA team. Okay.
Okay, Shanmugh.
Yeah. Any other
Look,
questions?
as a DBA, I forget my password.
Hmm.
Who will change?
That's what we have discussed now. Who will change? Tell me.
I can connect as the Windows team or
Yes, you have to connect to the Windows team. Who is there for us? Our account is created by the Windows team only. DBA's accounts will be created by the Windows team only. In case if DBA has forgot his password, or if his password is usually in the organization, it is very common. Your password will be expired for every 45 days. Okay, in the organization, for every 45 days, your password will be expired. So usually you will get the notification. Okay, once you log into any server, if you log into server here under the notification bar, you will get one notification like your password is going to expire in 2 days, in 1 day, your password will expire today. If you see and if you change the password before expiration, it will work. But after expiration, you cannot do anything, guys. You have to contact the Windows team. You cannot reset the password by your own. Windows team is going to help you to reset your password. In case if you forgot your password, or if the password expires, for DBAs, Windows team will help us to reset the password. In case if any SQL logins forgot their password, we are going to help them out. We are going to reset their password. Means if any of the logins list forgot their password, or their password is expired in this logins list, usually if those logins are SQL logins, then we can change their passwords. But our logins, our passwords will be controlled by the, means our means what, DBA team users passwords will be controlled by the Windows team. So Windows team will help us to reset the password. Okay, any questions, any more questions? Right, so now authentication means having access on SQL server is called an authentication. Sorry, authorization means having access on SQL server is called an authorization. Authentication means process of verifying the username and password is called authentication. Okay, if you choose Windows authentication or SQL server authentication, their main motto is only one thing: whether you are giving proper username and password or not, whether you are giving a correct username and password or not. Authentication will simply verify your username and password. Authorization will verify whether you are an authorized person to access the resource or not. Okay, right? So in case you want to remember this example, you can remember powerhouse. Okay, having access to the powerhouse is an authorization. How you are entering into the powerhouse or server room? By just flashing your ID card, or by entering a pin, or by entering a password, or by entering a thumbprint, biometric. This process is called authentication. Process of giving username and password or verifying the username and password is called an authentication. Clear? Is it clear, everyone? Right. So the next terminology is principal and securable. Okay, principal and securable. Securables are securable usually. So what is principal? What is securable? Again, in the same example, okay, server room example, if you see here, principal means those who are accessing the resources is called a principal. Those who are accessing the resources is called a principal. Means in this example, who is principal? Hmm? Who is principal? Actor. Okay. So this actor is principal now. Why? Because he is accessing the power room, right? Who is accessing the resources is called principal. Which resources he is accessing is called securable. Now what is securable here? Power room. Power room is the securable. Who is accessing the resources? Again, who is accessing the resources is called principal. Which resources he is accessing is called securables. In the same way, in SQL Server, okay, can anyone tell me now who is principal and who is resources? What is resources? Now with the same explanation, whatever we have discussed till now, just apply the same knowledge. Who is principal in SQL Server? What are the securables in SQL Server?
Principals are logins and
Very
all.
good. Excellent. Excellent.
And the securables
Logins.
are like a tables.
Excellent. Super. 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 Okay.
Tables, databases.
Yes. Very good. Excellent. Okay. Who is accessing the resources? Logins will access the resources. So logins are always principals. What resources they can access? They can access either databases, they can access either tables. Okay. So the resources we can call them as securables. So database is a securable, table is a securable, stored proc is a securable. Whatever the resources are accessed by the principals or logins is called securables. Okay. Principal means who is accessing the resources is called principal. What resources he is accessing is called securable. Right? This is a separate set of terminology. Right. And we have to know the difference between a login and the user. Okay. We discussed about the authentication authorization. Then we just discussed about the what? After authentication authorization, what we have discussed? Principal and securable. Now we are going to discuss about the now we are going to discuss about the logins and users. What is the difference between these two? Okay, so let me go to the diagram again. Right, just listen carefully here. Imagine, okay, yeah, this is your Windows machine. Imagine this is your Windows machine. Okay, so let me go to the SQL. PostgreSQL, MySQL, MySQL, SQL Slave, MySQL. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so this is your SQL Server. We have databases, right? Let me expand this one now. Okay, so this is your Windows machine and this is your SQL Server. Under SQL Server, we have databases. These are the databases. Right, now let me explain a login and a user. Okay, so I told you, right, in case if anyone wants to connect to my SQL Server, a login should be created in the SQL Server, right? So let me user, yeah, okay. So let me go with the blue color, okay. So in the SQL Server, a login should be there. In the SQL Server, a login should be there. 1 minute, please. Right. Okay. So this is my login. Remember, this is my SQL server. Under SQL server, I have databases. Under SQL server, I have logins like this. Okay. So here I have logins as well. These are the databases and these are the logins. Okay. In the same SQL server, I have logins and databases like this. Okay. So now don't think like in case if a login is created in the SQL server that he can connect to any database. Nothing like that. Okay. So here, if you see here, imagine there are 3-4 databases. Okay. Just a minute. It is not coming. Okay, let me delete this one. Delete. Okay, so this is not detecting as a database. Okay, no problem. Just a minute, guys. Just a minute. Right. Okay. So, right. Okay. So in case this user, imagine this user wants some X. Imagine he is some X. This X user might be he is a login in the SQL server. But don't think all logins can access the databases. No, depends upon the level of security. He may access the databases or he may not access the database. That can be controlled by the DBS. Okay. So what databases and all he should access, that will be there in our hands. Depends upon his requirement. We may give access to some of the databases or we may give access to the whole instance so that he can access everything in the instance. Means we can restrict the users, okay, for accessing the data. In case we want to restrict, say for example, a user is there, imagine he is a business analyst. He's a business analyst. As part of his responsibilities, he want to pull the data. He need only select permissions. He don't change any data. Business analyst, what he will do? Usually he will generate a reports and all. For generating the reports, he will need data, right? So he don't change the data. Okay, he will simply generate a report using existing data. That means he wants to read the data. As per his job description, he can only read the data from the databases. We cannot give write permissions to him. So in the same way, it depends upon the user requirements, the permissions is also going to change. Okay, so don't think all logins will have same access. Don't think like that. Okay, here I can see a lot of logins are there, right? Don't think every login will have same access. Might be this login can access all the databases. Might be this login cannot access all the databases. We can restrict each user what databases he has to access, what tables he has to access. We can restrict each user in the SQL server. Depends upon the user requirement. We are going to provide the permissions. Means not all users will have same kind of permissions. Why? Because everyone will not do same kind of work, right? An HR will do a separate work. Okay. A business analyst will do a separate work. Okay. Software engineer will do a separate work. Depends upon his work. Okay. The level of accessing the data is also going to be different. So the level of giving permission is also going to be different in the SQL server. So don't think everyone can access all the data. No. Okay, in case if we give the permissions to him, he can access all the data. But again, it depends upon the requirement, depends upon the user requirements. If his business needs that permissions, see, we are simply executors. We can't do anything. If manager is saying, okay, please give all the permission to that user, we have to give. Don't tell like, no, 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 I cannot give. We are there to complete their activities. Okay, so if in case if that user needs the all permissions on all the databases, we have to give it. But what we have to do, we have to properly check whether approvals are there or not. Okay, that is a different thing. I'll explain again. So here, okay, so let me go back to the diagram. So this is your login, SQL login. Okay, I'll tell you the difference between login and user. Okay, this is your login, right? Imagine this login wants to access this database. This database. Okay, we have 1, 2, 3 databases, right? Imagine these are the collection of databases. 1, 2, 3 databases. This login wants to access this database. Okay, once you give access to this login on this database, a user will be created in this database. Okay, so this is called user. Okay, so remember guys, you have to remember one thing. A login cannot directly enter into the database. A login cannot directly enter into the database. On behalf of login, login will simply help you to log into the server. That's it. But if in case if he needs, if we just want to read any data from this database, imagine this is a sales. Let me write like this. Okay, let me sales. This is the sales database. Okay, and employee. This is an employee database. Second one, and items. Okay, imagine there are different databases. This is your items database, right? If login, this login will simply help you to connect to the server, means it will help you to log into the SQL server. That's it. Login can never directly enter into the database to pull the data. Once you gave the access to this X user, imagine this is Sudarshan. Now Sudarshan wants to access sales database. Okay, now Sudarshan wants to access the sales database. So we are going to provide access to Sudarshan on sales database. So one more small Sudarshan will be created in the sales database. He is called user. So this is Sudarshan login and this is Sudarshan user. With the same name he will be created. What is the login name? With the same login name user will be created. In case you want to change, you can change it, but it's not good way. We are not going to change the users. Why? Because if something happened to the login, we'll check whether user is there or not, Sudarshan is there in this particular database or not. If Sudarshan is renamed to some other Bharat, or like what we have a lot of students, right? Sharath. So in case we just rename it to some other user, again we'll get some confusion. Okay, so who is the login, who is the user, will get some confusion. So while giving the access to the sales database to Sudarshan, usually a Sudarshan user will be created in the database. This Sudarshan will help to pull the data from the sales database. So SQL server level principal is a login, database level principal is a user. Is it clear? Is it clear, everyone? So login cannot enter into the database directly. On behalf of login, a user will be there to pull the data, either to read the data or to write the data, to delete the data, whatever you want, you can do it. Okay, but a login cannot do it. On behalf of that login, a user only can fulfill this requirement, either reading the data or deleting the data or writing the data. Anything can be done by the user only. Is it clear? Any issues, any doubts here, please let me know. Guys,
So
is
in
it
an
clear?
organization, separate logins will be there for HR, finance, and accounts.
Yes, yes, depends upon the requirement. Each user will have again, good question. Okay, right. So here we'll have group logins, guys. Okay, group logins. We will have group logins. Different groups will be there. This is HR group. HR means not only a single HR, right? Might be group of HR people will be there. Okay, just 1 minute. Right. Okay, so again here we'll have individual logins and we will have group logins also. Usually we will have group logins. We'll prefer group logins in SQL Server. Means all HRs grouped together into a group and will directly provide access to the whole group on the database, so that all the people in this HR group can directly access those databases. Instead of giving individual permissions to the individual HRs, what we will do, guys, we'll create a HR group login. Okay, so we'll directly create a group login in the SQL Server. So those who are the members of that group, they will all have same permissions, guys. Don't think in a group we can give different permissions to different people. No, it will treat it as a group login. So all the persons of that group, okay, will have same kind of permissions. Again, I'll tell you one important point here. Once you go to the organization, okay, they will create an account for you, right? They will create an account for you and they will imagine I have 1,000 servers. As a DBA, your work is to log into 1,000 servers. You have to monitor 1,000 database servers. Now, are they going to create 1,000 logins for you in 1,000 servers?
Sir.
Is it?
No.
So the answer is no. Okay. Again, we will have SQL DBA group login in the organization. So what they will do, they will simply create a single login for you. Imagine Nagesh is selected as a database administrator. Okay. Now he just joined in that particular company. Imagine he just selected for Infosys. Okay. Now immediately on the first day or second day, Windows team will create a login for Nagesh. Right? So once they created login for Nagesh wants to monitor 1,000 database servers, right? So is it possible to create 1,000 Nagesh in 1,000 servers? Why? Because in each server, in case if you want to log into each server, your account should be there in the machine. But they don't create 1,000 Nagesh in 1,000 machines.
Your voice is breaking.
My voice is breaking. Okay. Now is it clear? Any issues in doubts?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. Okay, so in such case, they don't create 1,000 Nagesh in 1,000 machines. They will simply create one Nagesh. They will add you to the DBA group. This DBA group will have access to all 1,000 servers. Once you are added to the DBA group, immediately in the next second onwards, you can access all the 1,000 servers. Okay, so that is the power of the group login. Usually in the organization, we are going to maintain group logins only. We don't maintain individual logins. Why? Because it is very difficult. Giving permission to each login is very difficult. Imagine the same example. Imagine Nagesh wants to access 1,000 database servers. I have to create 1,000 Nagesh in 1,000 servers, which is a difficult task. In the same way, the same kind of issues we are going to face. That's why we don't encourage individual logins. We'll create group logins in the SQL Server. So whenever in the next time some other new person join to the HR group, again we don't give separate permission to that person. We'll ask Windows team to add that new HR into that particular HR group. Automatically, whatever HR group is having permissions, he can get all the permissions. That new HR can get all the permissions immediately. We don't do anything from our side. Okay, clear. The one thing is login will help you to log into the SQL Server. That is the first main important thing. Login can never enter into a database. On behalf of login, a user will be created in the database when you gave access to the database. Guys, don't think in all the databases all the logins will be created as a users. No, whenever I gave access to this login on the sales database, then only the user will be created. Okay, in case if I gave access to Sudarshan on employee database, one more Sudarshan will be created on employee database. If I gave access to Sudarshan on items database, one more Sudarshan will be created on the items database. Okay, so like this, the users will be created in each. So here, if you see here, only one parent is there. Okay, Sudarshan, this is Sudarshan parent, and these are all the Sudarshan users. Okay, these are the, for one login I have multiple users. Now can anyone tell me how many users I can create, how many max users I can create for a single login?
32,760.
Very good, that's it. I can create 32,760, of course 767 databases. If I gave access to each database for Sudarshan, 32,767 Sudarshans will be created. Okay, so when they will be created, when you gave access to a specific database, in that database only that user will be created. That user will help you to pull the data, to read the data, to write the data to the database from the database. If someone deleted the user by mistake, even though the login is there, even though the login is having permissions on the sales database, if someone deleted the particular login, okay, now Sudarshan can't access the employee database. Why? Because the helper is deleted, right? There is no one to help to Sudarshan login now. Is it clear, guys? The difference between a login and a user? Any doubts? Any questions? Please, in case of any questions, let me know. Okay. I see some people again after class, they are going to call me. I don't think that is a wrong thing. But again, if you have questions, let me know here only, so other people also can easily understand those questions and all. Okay, the meeting is going to close now. Let me reopen the meeting. Please join with the same link. Okay. One login, one DB permission is given, or all DB permissions given. I'll tell you, Naresh. Again, I'll close meeting and I'll reopen the meeting with the same link. Okay, same meeting link.